That was unexpected. Let's talk a little bit more about the Kalamazoo KG1. I saw on Reverb there was someone that was selling the body, someone that was selling the pickguard loaded with the original pickup, and someone was also selling the neck. So I was like, damn, if I wanted to, at a discounted rate, I could build one of these myself from parts, set it up and put it together myself, and it would be really cool. So that's what I did. Let's give a little bit of history on the Kalamazoo KG. From what I see online, it was meant to compete with the Fender Mustang. As you can see, it's just got lawsuit written all over it. It's crazy. They got the headstock with the burned-in logo. Kalamazoo guitars were built in Kalamazoo, Michigan, where the original Gibson factory was set up. And so these were put together at the factory. One of the cool things about this, too, for my manufacturing nerds, is that this was one of the first commercial uses of MDF. For those of you who don't know, MDF is a wood product. It's like sawdust and wax and stabilizers and glue and a couple other things that can be press-fitted into a mold. So instead of using a piece of wood and milling and routing and doing all the hard work and hand carving like they would like a Les Paul, you basically just have a press-fit mold. And then they painted it, and that was the end of it. And the paint job is pretty solid on this guy. Usually the paint peels off of MDF after a while, but this thing is fresh, man, I gotta say. The neck came with the original tuners. Neck is all original as far as I can tell. No extra drill holes, no catastrophes, nothing like that. The body is original. The pick guard came, and I had to buy knobs separately on eBay. I was able to source some original knobs. Only thing that isn't original, vibrato tailpiece, and then the bridge posts and bushings I also had to swap out. And the bolts for the pickup holes that didn't come with it. It was actually taped to the back of the pickguard. So let's go through what I did with this guitar. The body had some shimming in the neck pocket, which I figured was going to have to be shimmed. So I held on to that. But when I first got it and I started to try and put in the bridge posts, because I got the bridge separately from someone else, I noticed that the bushings were very like crunchy. Like after about halfway, they just wouldn't go in. I think the thread is the same size, but I think the posts, the length that the threads extend out on the post is too wide. So it was causing a bit of a grinding, which caused me to grind to a halt on this project. So what I had to do was pull out the original bushings, which I hated doing because I wanted to keep the originals, but they were so rusted when I pulled them out that they literally couldn't accept a bridge post, even that would fit perfectly. So I decided to replace them. I tapped them into the body with some wood glue and a little bit of newspaper. That's a trick to putting in new posts and having it be secured. So that's what I did for that. The pickups are in these. This is an original pickup. It's a 60s Melody Maker style pickup, so very low output, very chimey bridge sound. And, you know, I started putting it together and I would try it out, but then when I had it put together for the first time, the action was so high because of the bridge post that this pickup was getting like no output, so it was very weak, and the noise floor was very high. So I was getting some really crappy sounds out of it. I was getting really disappointed. So one of the first things I decided to do to make this a real player grade instrument is to put shielding on the inside. So I lined it with copper tape, and then I solder connected all the copper foil pieces that I laid down together, and then connected those to ground. So that gives you a Faraday cage away from electrical interference, which helped a lot. But it just wasn't nearly enough. And this old pickup was very weak and anemic. And I do like that sound, but the signal was not hot enough for me to get an appreciable noise floor. And I live in an apartment where the wiring is not great. It's a very old place, and so obviously grounding is not great here also. But I knew that there was a solution, and this was a hard decision for me to make. But what I ended up doing was putting in a dummy coil. So for those of you who aren't aware that you can do this, there's this trick that you can do where you take your pickup, you have a single coil, and it's going crazy. It's humming, and it's interfering, and buzzing, and whatever else. What you can do is you can essentially create a hybrid single coil humbucker pickup that is the pickup that does all the sensing. If you match that pickup to another one, like a cheap Chinese knockoff, whatever, you can get them for like $10. You pull the magnets out so it can't sense vibration, and then you put it in backward to this one. So what you essentially have is a humbucker in which one of the coils is not picking up any signal. And then you can wire it in series or in parallel. And it changes the tone like ever so slightly, like a tiny bit. But I really don't care. I just had I had a jazz bass pickup, bridge pickup lying around that I wasn't using, so I pulled the magnets out of it and stuck it in here with some very strong glue attached to the shielding, so in the future, if anybody wants to take the shielding off, the pickup will come with it and won't be damaged, etc. And that helped enormously. But like, this is a single coil pickup, pretty much noiseless. And when you wire up a dummy pickup, I wired mine up in parallel because I like that kind of scooped mid sound. I tried it in series and it ended up being a lot thicker. Somebody might like that sound to go with more of a humbucker, but the thing is, the tone roll-off on this is amazing. I've never heard a tone cap like this. It could be just that the cap is leaky, and I haven't checked on it, but it's all the original electronics. The pots, I just cleaned them out, and the jack is original. But listen to the tone difference. It's really a player grade instrument now. When it first came to me and I was putting it together, it was in bad shape, and now it's player grade after shimming the neck and after adjusting the bridge and getting the trem figured out, which I'm still not a huge fan of this trem, but it's vintage and it's fun. It's not something you're going to be dive bombing on, but for a little bit of a little nuance, you can do that. It sounds great to me, to my ear. Playability-wise, this is a very comfortable neck. Maybe it's because I love my Mustang bass so much, but this guitar just absolutely rips. It's shorter scale length, so it feels nice in the hand. I have little stubby fingers, so I'm always more leaning towards short scale instruments just for playability's sake. Could probably use an intonation adjustment. The frets are so small They're very short frets. If you like jumbo frets, you'll probably hate this guitar. Let's be real. The playability is good once you get used to it. It actually feels a little bit more fluid than I was expecting. I was expecting to have all sorts of trouble. Bending is a little tough. I think if you polish these frets up, they'd probably bend a bit better. I didn't do any of that. I just kind of slapped it together as is, and I think that was a conscious choice. I know that Les Paul preferred very flat, thin frets. I think he believed that it led to faster playability, which is just funny because, you know, we're guitar players. We like to be expressive and bend and do all sorts of stuff. And that is a little bit of getting used to on this guitar. But other than that, it's minty, dude. I love the contrast between tone all the way on and all the way off. It is seriously the difference between like a Telecaster and a, you know, SG maybe kind of sound, like a thicker, fatter sound. That's the Kalamazoo. And I'm going to be putting this guitar up on my reverb, so if you're interested in that, check it out. It's in the link in the description. If you're into it, it's a really player-grade instrument. I think what I'm going to try to do more is build out, fix guitars, amps, make a video out of it, preserve it, talk a little bit about the history, and then sell it to whoever is interested. It'll be up on my reverb till who knows when, but give it a shout. If you liked it, like and subscribe, and keep on playing. Keep on playing.